All right, on to task number 3. So we're supposed to write a non-random walk function, and that function is supposed to start at some start URL, which is a string, and then number of steps maybe, which is an integer. All right, so what do we need to do? So first we want to store our visited articles so that we don't go to the same place twice. For that we need a set so that we can't store duplicates. Then we're going to run a number of steps times. So for step in range steps. All right, so what we want to do is now we want to replicate the code from return first article. Now, usually I would recommend running this function instead of copying the code from it. Now, the problem that we have here a bit is that we don't just want to extract the first article from the page, but we also want to print the headline of the page, the title of the page. And for that, we need to request the page anyway. So if we do run this function here, which again under normal circumstances I would very much recommend, then we will recommend the same page twice, which is a bit of a waste of resources. So instead of using that function, we will copy the code of the function. So this is something we're going to do again. Yeah, reuse. So we're first requesting the page. We are turning the response text into a variable and then into a soup. And now what we want to do is we want to find the page title, and that is always found in the h1 element. Right, and then we print this. And so print page title, get text, and maybe we want to get rid of some white space here left and right. All right, so now we're going to find our next article. Now the only difference here to before is that we're going to, instead of article set here, we're going to be using the visited articles. So just making sure that it's not in the visited articles, and we're not going to return this value, because otherwise if we did, then the function would just stop. So instead we're going to assign it to an article. And now if we just leave it at that, then it would mean that the for loop continues to run. So we have to break out of the for loop with break. So now we're at this level again. Right, the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we actually found something. So it's possible that we run through all these links and don't find anything new. So we have to make sure that at the beginning we set next article, let's say equal to empty string. And if it's still an empty string, when we're done with the for loop, it's an empty string is considered falsy. So if not next article, then we're going to print something like no new articles found on this page, and we actually want to end the function at this point. All right, so but if we have found something, then we want to prepare the next step. So I'm just going to use furl because I want to show a bit how this works. So we turn the current URL that we have into a furl, add it to the visited articles. So visited articles dot add, and what do we want to add? We want to add the furl URL and then the last part of that URL, which is the article name. So we added this to the visited article once so that we don't go to the same page again. And now we're going to replace this last part, furl URL path segment the last element of this with the new article that we found. Next article, and then we take the new wiki URL is now going to be this new furl URL, and URL so that it's a string at the end. Okay, and now we're going to continue with the loop for the next step until the number of steps have finished, and then we are done. All right, so let's try and see if that works. So execute the function, and we're going to continue using here our Albert Einstein URL, and let's go maybe for 10 iterations of this. Okay, let's see. Error, what's the problem here? Name page is not defined. So what have I done? Page. Page title. Here. So this needs to be page underscore title, right? So this one. Again, another error. String has no attribute stip, so again, it must be typo here. So this is supposed to be strip. One more. Cannot access local variable wiki URL where it is not associated with the value. So this is supposed to be here. So this is because I called this start URL, so let's call this wiki URL, and then the wiki URL comes actually in here. All right, so now hopefully, still not. Path has no element segments, so that certainly must be segments. And now hopefully we're finally done. There we go. Okay, this is not good. So it looks like this is actually not updated at all. Why is that? So for if not next article, then for wiki, this is added to the new ones, and then that is started again, and then it should be because I use URL here, I should use wiki URL. Right, so these are the problems when you code everything in one go, but ultimately we got there. Right, so generally I would obviously recommend running things in smaller steps so that you catch these type of errors a bit earlier, but you also see that every programmer makes errors and typos and everything. It's just a question of whether you get into the habit of catching them and understanding the error messages that you get. All right, so this is a random, non-random walk from this particular page. That's just for fun. Try another one. So let me try a completely different wiki here. What else do I have available? So let's try basketball. Let's get rid of the viewer part here. All right, who's my favorite player? Dirk Nowitzki, obviously. So let's try this. So URL2 is Dirk Nowitzki, and I'll try a non-random walk on Dirk Nowitzki. URL is not defined, so obviously you should execute this. And now, right, not particularly exciting walk here, but nevertheless, it's working. Good. All right, so this is task number 3. Let's move on to task number 5, because task number 4 is creating a flowchart. And I think you don't want to see me drawing a flowchart. Although I might upload one just to show how a good one would look like. Okay, so yeah, let's go to task number 5.